Shedeur Sanders says he was never given a fair shot, and now, he's demanding the NFL investigate what he calls a deliberate and systematic campaign to sabotage his career. The former fifth-round draft pick is accusing head coach Kevin Stefanski and the Browns' front office of orchestrating a season-long effort to keep him sidelined. According to Sanders, it wasn't just about competition, it was personal, political, and corrupt from the moment his name was called on draft night.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Sanders claims the sabotage was multi-layered. First, they limited his practice reps. Then, they called plays designed to highlight his weaknesses, not his strengths. And behind the scenes, he alleges that internal stats were altered to make him look less effective than he actually was. All while Dillon Gabriel, handpicked by the coaching staff, was groomed as the starter, no matter what Sanders did on the field. Kevin Stefanski, who reportedly opposed drafting Sanders from the beginning, is now at the center of the firestorm. What started as internal frustration has exploded into a national controversy, with Sanders presenting evidence of misconduct directly to Browns owner Jimmy Haslam. The meeting sparked immediate ripple effects: coaches scrambling, locker room unrest, and media pressure mounting. The Browns' dysfunction is no longer behind closed doors. Players have started to back Sanders in private, confirming aspects of his claims. Meanwhile, Stefanski and his staff have gone quiet, refusing to answer direct questions. Public support for Sanders is growing, especially after fans noticed the team's sudden boost in offensive rhythm whenever he touched the field. This isn't just a quarterback battle gone wrong, it's a full-blown power struggle. It pits an emerging young talent against an old-school coaching regime desperate to protect its authority, even if it means sabotaging one of their own players. And what's worse, there's a growing undercurrent to this scandal that raises far bigger questions about race, meritocracy, and the politics of quarterback grooming in the NFL. Sanders' camp hasn't shied away from implying racial bias played a role in his treatment, citing a pattern of minority quarterbacks being benched or slow-walked despite showing clear promise. Now, with a formal request for an NFL investigation submitted, the ball is in the league's court. The potential fallout could be massive: legal action, internal restructuring, or even league-mandated sanctions if the allegations are proven true. As for the Browns, their once promising season is now overshadowed by questions of corruption, cover-ups, and culture rot. Sanders is still suiting up, but every snap he takes is under a microscope, because this scandal isn't just about one quarterback. It's about who gets to lead a team, who decides that, and how far some people will go to stay in control. This scandal is spiraling faster than the Browns' playoff hopes. Shedeur Sanders isn't just asking for a chance anymore, he's demanding an investigation. And when a fifth-round rookie quarterback publicly calls out his own head coach, the front office, and an entire organizational power structure, you know it's not just locker room drama. This is a full-blown integrity crisis. Let's break it down. Sanders says he was targeted. Not overlooked, not outperformed, targeted. And he's not tossing vague accusations. He's bringing receipts. According to Sanders, the coaching staff, led by Kevin Stefanski, didn't just prefer someone else. They allegedly manipulated reps, sabotaged play calls, and even falsified internal stats, all to discredit him and justify a predetermined decision to roll with Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback they actually wanted in the first place. And here's the kicker: Sanders was drafted against Stefanski's wishes. So from day one, he was fighting an uphill battle in a system that never wanted him to succeed. He claims this was never about competition. It was about control. The staff made up their minds and built a campaign around proving themselves right, even if it meant tanking Sanders' reputation in the process. We're talking about game plans designed to fail. Practice reps cut short. Stats manipulated to make him look ineffective. All while the team propped up Gabriel, the quarterback they did co-sign. If true, that's not just sabotage. That's corruption. And now, Sanders has had enough. He's gone straight to the top, bringing documented evidence to Browns owner Jimmy Haslam. The move caught the entire organization off guard, but Haslam's reaction raised eyebrows. Instead of dismissing the claims, he reportedly supported Sanders. That alone suggests there's something deeper going on, something that might even fracture the already shaky power dynamics inside the franchise. The scandal isn't contained to Berea anymore. National media has picked it up. Fans are rallying. Protests are happening. Social media campaigns are pressuring the league to step in. This isn't just about one quarterback being treated unfairly. This is a referendum on how much unchecked authority NFL coaches have over player careers, and what happens when that power gets abused. And make no mistake, the allegations are serious. Sanders says his mental health was affected, his career progression deliberately slowed, and his public image damaged. This is more than just a bad coaching fit. It's a case that could end up in court. Legal experts are already saying Sanders might have grounds to file grievances through the NFLPA, or even civil litigation, if these claims hold up. We're talking breach of implied contract, manipulation, and potentially discriminatory practices. Let's talk about the locker room. This whole scandal has torched team chemistry. Players are reportedly divided, some siding with Sanders, others staying quiet but clearly shaken. Several teammates have privately confirmed elements of his story. They've seen the rep manipulation. They've seen the way game plans shift depending on who's under center. They've noticed how certain players are elevated while others are buried, regardless of on-field performance. Now fans are in open revolt. Boycotts. Protest banners at practices. Social media flooded with messages demanding Stefanski's resignation. It's gotten so big that every time Sanders takes the field, ratings spike. Merch sales go up. Twitter lights up. He's not just a quarterback anymore. He's a symbol of everything fans want to believe in: meritocracy, fairness, and transparency. Meanwhile, the Browns' front office is scrambling. They're stuck in the worst PR nightmare imaginable. If they back Stefanski, they look complicit. If they back Sanders, they risk alienating the staff they've empowered for years. Either way, their house is on fire, and they're holding the matchbook. And here's where things get even messy. This entire saga shines a giant spotlight on how race, ego, and power still operate in NFL circles. A black quarterback, drafted late, seen as a threat to the system. Not for his attitude, not for his skill level, but because he represents change. Because he wasn't part of the plan. Because he wasn't their guy. The unspoken truth? Quarterback is still a position where racial bias lingers. Whether it's explicit or not, there's a long history of black quarterbacks being judged by a different standard. And Sanders stepping up to challenge that structure, to demand answers, to call out the misconduct, to fight it publicly, that's huge. It's rare. And it's forcing conversations the NFL has spent years avoiding. So now the league has a decision to make. Investigate this seriously and risk upending the power structure of an entire franchise? Or look the other way and send a message that sabotage is just part of the game? There's no good option here for the league office. If they do nothing, they're complicit. If they step in, they're acknowledging that one of their most tightly controlled teams has become a case study in systemic failure. Meanwhile, media coverage isn't slowing down. Every panel show, every podcast, every sports network is circling this story like vultures. Everyone wants the next leak, the next statement, the next bombshell. And they're getting it, because this thing is unraveling by the hour. And then there's Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback allegedly protected by all of this. He hasn't said a word. And maybe that's smart. But he's also now caught in a narrative he didn't ask for. Whether or not he was aware of the sabotage, his performance is going to be scrutinized in a whole new way. Every incomplete pass, every bad decision, it's not just about football anymore. It's about whether he was handed something he didn't earn. And let's not forget the long-term impact. The Browns' future is on life support. Sponsors are nervous. Agents are watching. Prospective free agents are suddenly rethinking whether they want to be part of a franchise that lets politics drive personnel decisions. Even draft strategy is in question. Because if your staff is willing to tank the development of a guy they didn't want drafted, how many scouts or execs will trust their voice in the war room going forward? The league knows this isn't a minor incident. It's a structural failure. A player came forward with evidence. Teammates backed him up. Fans believed him. The owners supported him. And now the NFL has to decide. Do you pretend it's just smoke? Or do you admit the house is burning? Because one thing's already clear, Shedeur Sanders is not backing down. He's not shrinking from this moment. He's not waiting for a quiet apology or a vague policy change. He's demanding justice. And unless the league steps up, he might just take this fight even further. He's not doing it for clicks or clout. He's doing it because his career, his name, was put on the line by people who were supposed to help him grow. And when that kind of betrayal happens, you don't walk it off. You fight back. And that's exactly what he's doing. Whether this ends in investigations, lawsuits, firings, or full-scale reform, one thing's for sure, the league can't pretend this is normal. Because if they do, they're setting a precedent that says talent doesn't matter. That corruption is just a part of the game. And that coaches can destroy a player's future if they don't like the draft pick. So where does this go next? That depends on who has more power. Sanders, with the support of fans, media, and now possibly ownership? Or the entrenched NFL system, built to protect its own? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the league open a full investigation? Is this the start of a bigger reckoning in the NFL? And if you want more deep dives into the chaos behind the scenes, subscribe. Because this scandal? It's only getting louder. Shedeur Sanders is going to war with the NFL establishment, and he's doing it while still in a rookie contract. That's not just bold. That's unheard of. Most rookies, especially those drafted outside the first round, are expected to keep their heads down, say the right things, and earn their stripes over time. But Sanders? He's taken a different route. He saw what was happening behind the scenes, saw how decisions were being made that had nothing to do with merit, and he said no more. And now, the floodgates are open. When Shedeur walked into Jimmy Haslam's office with documented evidence, he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was pulling back the curtain on how deeply dysfunctional this team has become. Evidence of stat manipulation, practice footage contradicting official reports, charts showing deliberately unbalanced rep distribution. According to sources close to the situation, it's all real, and it's all damning. And Haslam didn't laugh him out of the room. He listened. That response, subtle as it was, sent shockwaves through the Browns' front office. Because when the owner starts siding with the player against his own coach, you know the days of top-down protection are numbered. This wasn't a casual complaint. This was a formal, documented challenge to the very people tasked with developing his career. And when a quarterback, any quarterback, feels like he has to go over the head of his coaching staff just to be treated fairly, that's not just a player issue. That's a cultural failure. That's an organizational red flag the size of First Energy Stadium. And now the locker room knows it too. Teammates who've watched Sanders get shuffled down the depth chart despite outperforming expectations? They're talking. Privately, several have confirmed that practice reps didn't reflect talent. That play calls were suspiciously out of sync when Sanders was under center. That even during preseason, there was an unmistakable vibe. He's not our guy. That, not our guy, energy is poison in a locker room. It's not just that he was benched. It's that he was never really given a chance. Coaches allegedly treated every mistake as confirmation bias. Meanwhile, others could fumble, misread coverages, throw picks, and still get second, third, fourth chances. Because they fit the system. They were handpicked. Sanders? He was treated like a threat. And now the fans know it too. You don't need to dig through Reddit threads or listen to sports radio to feel the tension. Fans are done pretending this is a personnel issue. They see the sabotage for what it is: ego, pride, and control. Let's talk about Dillon Gabriel, the so-called QB1 who, according to Sanders' allegations, has been at the center of this preferential treatment. Gabriel hasn't done anything publicly wrong. He hasn't thrown Sanders under the bus. But here's the truth. His silence is deafening. He's the clear beneficiary of a rigged system, and the moment this scandal broke, he had a chance to clear the air. Say something. Anything. But nothing. No solidarity. No acknowledgement. Just stone-cold silence while the locker room burns. And for the coaching staff? They're clinging to the last shreds of plausible deniability, leaking vague quotes about competition, and player development that nobody is buying anymore. That line doesn't work when your QB1 is trending on Twitter not for his play, but because of the controversy swirling around your alleged internal corruption. Kevin Stefanski has been here before. He's faced pressure. But this is something else. He's being accused, directly, of leading a targeted effort to torpedo a young player's development because that player was forced on him by ownership. If that's true, it's more than unprofessional. It's career-ending. And it doesn't stop at Stefanski. This goes to the heart of how NFL teams are run. It exposes the power struggles between coaches and owners, between player reps and front office politics. It shows how much damage can be done to a player, not because they lack talent, but because they disrupted the hierarchy. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask to be part of a scandal, but he's not backing down from it either. And that's what makes this so dangerous, for the Browns and for the league. Because now, the league is on the clock. They're being asked, dared, to investigate one of their own teams for systemic sabotage, for falsifying data, for playing politics with a young quarterback's career. The NFL has a long history of dragging its feet on internal investigations, especially when it involves popular coaches or billion-dollar ownership groups. But this one? It's already out in the open. The pressure is coming from every direction. Legal analysts are publicly debating the liability. Civil rights groups are weighing in on the potential racial implications. Commentators are torching the league for letting it get this far. The NFLPA? They're reportedly circling the wagons around Sanders, exploring whether this crosses the line from workplace dysfunction into outright labor abuse. And fans aren't sitting this one out either. Protest signs are showing up at games. Let Shedeur play is now a rallying cry. Merchandise sales tied to Sanders are surging, while Browns gear in general, not so much. The league can feel where the momentum is going, and it's not toward silence. Sponsors are watching too. That's the part no one in the NFL likes to admit, but it matters. When public trust starts slipping and your young stars are being sabotaged by coaching ego, that's a bad look for everyone, including the brands spending millions to align with your image. Because this isn't just a football story. This is about fairness. It's about accountability. It's about whether the league protects its players or its power structure. And it's not just happening in Cleveland. Across the NFL, young players are watching this unfold and asking, could this happen to me? If a rookie can be sabotaged this publicly and still have to beg for an investigation, what hope does anyone have? That's what makes this more than just one scandal. This is a defining moment. Does the NFL really care about integrity? Or does it only enforce fairness when it's convenient? Right now, the ball is in the league's court. They can investigate thoroughly, punish those responsible, and send a message that merit still matters. Or they can let this die quietly, hoping the media cycle turns, the fans cool down, and Sanders eventually fades into the background. But Shedeur Sanders isn't fading. He's fighting. And that changes everything. The Browns are now on the verge of collapse from within. Kevin Stefanski's days look numbered, even if no official decision has been made. The players? Some are reportedly demanding answers behind closed doors. The front office is fraying. Ownership is being forced to choose between their hired leadership and the young quarterback with the guts to stand up for himself. And the league? They're staring down a decision that will define their credibility for years to come. Because if they don't act now, it sends a clear signal to every player in the NFL. Your career can be twisted by politics. Your stats can be rewritten. Your reps can be cut. And unless you're willing to blow the whistle and risk everything, you're on your own. So what now? The NFL needs to launch a full, transparent investigation. Not a press release. Not a soft internal memo. A real inquiry. Interviews. Subpoenas. Accountability. Anything less, and they've effectively endorsed the sabotage of a player by his own team. And that can't be allowed to happen. Not in this league. Not anymore. The silence from the league office is getting louder by the day. Every hour that passes without a formal response, every no comment dropped by a spokesperson only feeds the narrative that the NFL is trying to wait this out. But let's be crystal clear, that's not going to work this time. You don't just bury a story when a player brings documents to ownership. You don't brush off sabotage allegations when half the locker room is nodding in agreement. And you definitely don't go radio silent when fans, sponsors, and media are all staring directly at you, waiting to see if you have the spine to act. And here's the worst part. For the league, this is now a lose-lose situation. If they do investigate and the allegations are proven true, it confirms a deep rot in the Browns organization that they allowed to fester. But if they don't investigate, they're telling every single player in the NFL, past and present, that talent means nothing if your coach has an agenda. The people in charge are sweating, and they should be. Shedeur Sanders isn't some washed-out backup trying to make noise on his way out of the league. He's a young quarterback with upside, composure, and now a platform. He's already proven he can stay calm under pressure. Now he's showing he can lead under it too. He didn't lash out. He didn't go scorched earth. He gathered receipts, followed protocol, and gave the team, and the league, a chance to do the right thing. So what happens when they don't? Because let's be real, if there's no accountability after this, every coach with a grudge or a preference will feel empowered to do the same. Bury players. Bend narratives. Manipulate stats. All without fear of consequences. That's how you kill the meritocracy that football is supposed to be built on. And what's truly wild is how easily this could have been avoided. If Stefanski and his staff had just competed, if they'd let the reps speak for themselves, let the tape do the talking, this would have been a non-story. But no, they allegedly had to rig the system to justify their original bias. And now they're not just losing credibility. They're dragging the entire franchise into the mud with them. And if you think the fans will forgive this, think again. Browns fans have waited decades for a winning culture, for leadership they could believe in. And now they're staring at a team that couldn't even manage basic fairness without turning it into a scandal. So the clock's ticking. Every day you delay, more fans turn. More players question. More receipts surface. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not backing down. He's just getting started. Let us know your take in the comments. Does the league owe Sanders an immediate investigation? Will this scandal force long overdue changes? And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because the NFL wants this story to die quietly. But we're not letting that happen.